I'm glad you could stay on the program. Now, Deputy Minister for Food and Agriculture, Dr. Hannah Bissell, has allayed fears among the public of contracting bird flu disease. Instead, she assures so long as one cooks the chicken properly, there shouldn't be any danger of contracting the disease. Her caution follows confirmation of cases of bird flu present in the country by the World Health Organization. Speaking to Joy News a few minutes ago, Dr. Bissell assured government is putting in place the right measures to prevent an outbreak.
The veterinary services of Ghana took samples from farms, samples in terms of birds from farms, and they did via testing and isolated H5. The extracts were taken to Noguchi, and they were not set. I think there were about 5 of them. Some of them were extracts from affected birds, and some were just comparative samples. And so that was what was sent from veterinary to Noguchi as customers. We sent it there as customers, not that because Noguchi went to farm and took samples. I think that we need to set that straight. Noguchi also isolated H5. And so we needed to send it for confirmation, not because Noguchi isolated H5N1. Noguchi did not. The veterinarians did not. And so we had to take it to Padova to the referral laboratory. And so that is what happened.
I see.
So samples were sent, extracts were sent from our laboratory in Laboni to Noguchi for them to also see if they could get H5N1 for us.
Well,
then that we need to move on from this.
So now we have
got into.
Now we have the confirmation. What are the efforts being put in place to control it?
Well, when we had even the H5, the VSB moved in and went as though it was H5N1. And so what we did was to, check all the birds. We've done all the disinfection. Anything that has to be burned has been burned. And then the people, the workers on the farm, they are also going through screening. And so we've also put these 4 farms under quarantine, and it's given a stance of command, which means that nothing can go in and nothing can come out. And we've raised the surveillance of that area to about 100%, even though our surveillance now, especially at our border towns, has been raised to 100%. So this is how we are going to contain, the disease and also eliminate the existence of the virus in the affected farms. We've also raised the awareness, in the various districts, regions. Our veterinary officers, are ready. Veterinary paraprofessionals are there to help and support.
We'll stay on health issues, this time on Ebola, where health experts have been urging the public to support the ongoing vaccine trials in the country. The call follows agitations among the public about the decision to use Ghanaians for the vaccine trials. Professor Alex Dodu, of the World Health Organization, has been sharing some thoughts on Joy FM's Super Morning Show earlier today.
Trials being done in Ghana, people have gotten it so wrong that it is sad. It is sad for the country, it is sad for science. For starters, not even one person has been recruited in Ghana. Not even one person. Number 2, nobody's bringing Ebola to Ghana. A small component of the Ebola virus is being tested. The current trial, which has been granted temporal approval, so it's not even been finally approved. But what they were going to test is only for the safety. You have a product, you've done all the animal studies, and you're testing. I want to state something, and I hope it's not taken out of context, but it seems in this country, sometimes you allow politics and other things to actually disturb what is going on. Clinical trials is a technical issue, and I heard everything the Honorable Members of Parliament said yesterday. What shocked me is that I heard one Member of Parliament saying that, do we have systems? And my question is that, does the Member of Parliament not know that we have the Food and Drugs which is being regulated by Public Health Act of 2012, that organization is mandated by our laws to carry out clinical studies. So if these members of parliament have just taken the most casual of check with the body licensed to do this, they are mandated to do it. And I had several members of parliament from both sides of parliament saying that, do we have systems? Do we have law? Bring the minister. I'm sorry, the Minister of Health is the oversight minister for a lot of agencies, Food and Drug Board, Nurses Council, etc., etc. But he does not give approval. If he does give approval, or even, should I say, give suspension without recourse to the technocrats, then something is seriously wrong. And I would say this is the problem with Ghana. The politicians are beginning to usurp what should be technical issues instead of seeking clarification, getting them and doing the right things for Ghana. And let me add finally, before somebody comes to the line, ZMAP, the product that was used to cure Ebola in America and Canada. The Americans had it, the Canadians had it. If Ebola, when it struck, their citizens were safe. If Ebola should be in Ghana, what do we have to use? And where should it come from?
Anybody who is capable of being in the study or should be able to get into the study. And that you should not use people who are vulnerable, people who are weak, or whatever it is, that you should not use people if the drug comes they cannot afford. You get it? So that is the principle of justice. The person must say that the person understood it and everything that went on. Informed consent, for instance, will probably take an hour, 2 hours before the person can say, yes, I want to do it. Obviously, you must pay for the person's time. Now, once the person consents and comes into your study, he will undergo screening. Screening, because we are going to use healthy people. They will have to undergo all sorts of screening to ensure that you are actually as healthy as they want. And so they eliminate people. If you are going to do 18 people, you probably have to screen about 200 and 250 people to get the 18 people that will fit your criteria.
All these people are volunteering.
All these people are volunteering. All these 200 people would have undergone informed consent. And then out of all these 200 people, when you screen them, you only pick the 18 that are the top healthiest people to use with their consent. Now, the consent, if I give my consent form as my education form, what would happen in this Ebola trials is that they'll have darebase, and then they will do it on the radio, everything. They didn't talk about it initially because they did not have approval to talk about it. Anything you put out in public must undergo approval. So without the FDA approval, you can't go and sit somewhere and talk about your trial. It doesn't happen. So when you give the information out, the person will decide whether I want to do it. They can bring at the very least 2-3 hours for you to see whether the injection has immediate reactions. If it has no immediate reactions, they go home. Now, when they go home and they have a headache, they must call you. If they slip on the floor and there was water on the floor, they must call you.
Even an accident.
Anything. Even if they went somewhere and somebody threw a stone at their head and they got a cut, they must call you. Because once the person has taken your vaccine or your drug and they are in your study, anything that happens to them, you must report as an adverse event. Then you determine later whether the adverse event was due to your drug or due to somebody throwing a stone on their head. So they must call you with everything. Now, if you are going to be calling somebody and you say, I didn't have a mobile phone, so I couldn't call you, and I didn't have units, so I couldn't call you. Really? So you must equip them, you must empower them to be able to call you so that you can monitor them properly.
Well, you also heard from the CPP, Susan Amankwa. But today marks 8 days since torrential rains that hit Accra took the lives of more than 150 persons. Many have laid the blame on the blames on the government. Others have also given various reasons for this, including the filth in the capital city. Derek Akosam, who visited A Long, reports that the wreckage is still there and could choke gutters in the event of rain.
Every 4 years, everything you mash or I don't know how to explain that to you. And then you come back to zero. Our telly, mattress, and everything in the room, a lot, very, very big, a lot. It's more than what happened last 16 years ago. Went to the municipal assembly at the Sotum.
The stench from the rubbish is unbearable. They promised to come for them, but they haven't. We may contract some communicable diseases from the stench, especially as we are in the rainy season. We pray they come for it anytime soon. That will alleviate our plight.
Well, as you know, we don't have any way of picking them. Either we can get either Zoom Lion or because those people who always come here for this, they'll say we should give them money before they take it. So we only need your help. Because customers will think that maybe those things inside the store, it was being this niche and we have just washed it right now, so they will not buy it. So we want it off from this place.
So when it rains, the whole place gets flooded, you see, and we've been affected. As you can see, people's properties have been lost. People have lost their lives because of the gutter, and it's something which is worrying us. So we are just appealing. The assemblyman came around, that was, let's say, about Monday, and he said they were going to bring dustbins to collect the refuse. But they brought a dustbin, only one dustbin for that day. And since then, there's no dustbin.
Elang, Santa Maria is one of the areas that was worst hit by the floods. They lost about 7 community members, and they say that if their drains had been properly constructed, lives would not have been lost. The residents tell me the relief items from NADMO won't do them any good because they always get these relief items. But what they want to be done for them is that 1, they need properly constructed drains, and 2, they also need a better road service that would actually take away their plight and make sure that anytime it rains, no matter what happens, the area will not be flooded. My name is Derek Akolsam from Elang for Joy News.
Joy News checks have revealed the public hospitals taking care of survivors of the flood and fire disaster are yet to receive funds allocated to the treatment of victims. President Mahama had directed the release of 50 million cedis to support these victims, but the Police, Ridge and 37 military hospitals are yet to receive any of that money. DCOP Ampabenyi is Director General of Police Public Affairs.
This is an emergency situation. Nobody expected it, so certainly there will be strain on the logistics because it's not something that you plan for. But fortunately, the hospital has received a word from NADMO that they should try and treat everybody, and after that they will submit the bill to them. Maybe they will meet them half, maybe they will pay whole. But I know that everybody who has come to the police hospital has been treated without them paying anything.
Parliament has had to cut short doing thorough business with the House. This is because all but 2 NPP members of Parliament were absent. It is believed the MPs abandoned their duties in the House today to campaign for their re-election in the primaries on Saturday. The development has forced the House to step down on many key issues due to inadequate numbers. Elton Brobe is there and tells us more as he joins me over the telephone. Hello, Elton.
Let me just say that the question is ongoing as we speak, even though they may not have the numbers from a quorum. Nobody has come up with an objection to that effect. So question is ongoing. And even as I speak to you right now, they are considering the University of Environment and Sustainable Development Bill 2015 and 2014, and this is seeking to establish a university in the Eastern region, and they are even debating as to whether the university should not be cited in the Eastern Regional Capital of Florida. But at the start of the commencement of public business today, there were only 2 minority MPs in Parliament. The Deputy Minority Leader, Dominic Nichiwu, and then the MP for Kind President from Patrick Yabuama. As I speak to you right now, 7 more of them have walked in, but a large number of them are out of Parliament today, including the Minority Leader, Otto Chairman. But the reason is simple. They are campaigning for their re-election because the party will hold their parliamentary primaries this coming Saturday.
But is it the norm with the huge numbers missing that key issues will still be addressed in the House? Shouldn't the business of the House today have been called off?
Well, until a member raised an issue with the numbers, even I point to the fact that they don't have a quorum to transact business, the Speaker will go by the standing orders of the House. You allow for 10 minutes for the House to form a quorum. If after 10 minutes they don't form a quorum, then the Speaker has to bring proceedings to an end. But nobody has come up with that. Nobody has raised a particular objection. So business can be carried through as usual.
So what are we looking at here for those who have abandoned the House today?
There will be no punishment for them. The rule is quite clear. If you absent yourself from Parliament for 15 days without any explanation, your seat can be deemed vacant, and the Speaker can call the Electoral Commission to organize the by-election. But for now, the members have absented themselves from the House. Some may have done so with permission, because on Friday, the minority leader himself told the Speaker of Parliament that because of this weekend's parliamentary primary, his side will not be visible in the House. And evidence of it is what we are seeing today. Because we are looking at 123 members on the minority side. And out of this number, 14 of them are going on the post this Saturday's parliamentary primary. 6 of them will not be coming back to Parliament because they will be retiring at the end of this parliamentary session. So a large number of them are back in their constituency, taking the mandate of the delegates to renew their mandate so that they can, contest the 2016 election on the ticket of the MPP. So a large number of them will not be coming. Now, on the other side of the political divide, those on the majority side, they form the larger numbers in the House. Unfortunately, even on their side, even though they have the two-thirds majority to conduct parliamentary business with or without the minority, they themselves are not so many. In fact, I can count, and they are a little under 50. But because nobody has come up with an objection saying that the House has not formed a quorum for that reason, business should stop. Business is continuing.
And then again, it brings me to the question of how those huge numbers who are absent could affect the issues that are being addressed this morning, especially when nobody has raised the objection. How do you see the issues they are deliberating now being affected?
Yeah. Well, the consideration is still ongoing, and like I said earlier on, until a member raises an objection to the numbers considering this particular bill, the Speaker will have to continue with sitting until 2 p.m. And already there's a big debate on the floor as to whether the University for Environment and Sustainable Development should not be cited in the Eastern Regional Capital instead of Somanya, that the Committee on Education has proposed that it should be cited. And this back and forth on this particular issue.
This could affect balance on the consideration of whatever it is they're doing now.
Yeah, you are right, and the rules allow for a member to raise an objection so that they can have consideration of this particular bill. What is going to happen? A member can file a motion for rescission, which means that bill cannot be reconsidered the second time. But we are yet to get to that particular stage.
We'll leave it here. Thank you very much, Elton. Elton Brobe joined us from Parliament. A team of security personnel and officials of Asokore Mampong Municipal Assembly are embarking on a demolition exercise at Abuabo in Kumasi. Municipal Chief Executive of Asokore Mampong, Alhaji Nuruddin Hamidan, says the exercise has become necessary due to the health hazards and security threats inhabitants pose to the assembly.
Don't have meters. I don't know how they even manage to pay the electricity. So all these things are issues that it's even not good for them, they themselves, to live in this community. Where is the ventilation? Look at the way the things are aligned. Look at the polythene bag all over. We don't have air. So when there's an outbreak today, it's going to be a disaster. So I believe that all of us, the people of the community, should support to ensure that we have a befitting. But you know one thing, when I looked at it, majority of the people who are staying in these structures are not the people of Abuabo. So that is the worrying thing. And my report is that in the evening, you come pass here. When you are passing here, you are either you are attacked, your phone is collected, or something happens to you. And so we need to make sure that the people, especially the people of Abuabo who are indigents, are protected. If you remember, when we were intensifying the visibility in our Pond, we had to put an armor vehicle here. That is the seriousness of it. This place, all this place used to be a gang where we smokers are. We cleared all this place and now it's fallow. That is exactly what we want to do with the rest of the place. Here we want to make it a rule so that when cars are passing, it will check the criminal activities.
Joining News' Ohime Interior has joined us with the very latest over the telephone. Hello, Ohime.
Hello.
What's the latest on the ground?
Yes, for now, these activities have come to an end as members of the task force head back to the office. The combined team of police, military, and then the assembly's own task force have been here since 5 a.m. Trying to demolish these structures. And a few minutes to midday, the team decided to call off today's activities and come back at a rescheduled date. But the new date has not been announced yet. But as we speak now, there's an excavator in the middle of the Abuabu stream. The work of the excavator is to distort the stream. Many residents have turned the stream into a dumping site where all manner of waste are dumped into the stream. And I can see that all the parties or residents who were affected are now back to the Pelele area to either retrieve or remove the roofing sheets of the demolished structure. So now they are here in their numbers trying to pick anything they see on site, and don't forget, majority of them are scrap dealers. So that is the story as we speak now at Abuabo Pelele.
Well, thank you very much for the report. Ohime Interior joined us from Abuabo in the Sokore Municipal Assembly. You're watching Joy News today. There's more to come here. Don't go away. Thank you very much for staying on the program. The Environment Minister Mahama Ayariga is in the Ashanti region to check on the safety of a sighting of petrol stations in Kumasi. The exercise, which started in Accra, resulted in the closure of more than 6 filling stations which had breached various regulations. Today, the exercise has been sent to Abripo, and Joy News' John Tay now joins us with details of this exercise. Hello, John.
Hello, Kevin.
What has the minister been doing in Kumasi today?
Well, the inspection started from Unity Oil in South Central, and then we headed for the Islamic Senior High School, where this school is actually being flanked by 2 fuel stations. And I must say, the minister raised several concerns about these fuel stations in the area. First of all, he has a big issue with a gas station which is directly against the school, and it's under construction anyway, but the minister ordered for immediate stop of whatever work is going on the site. And then there is also another fuel station, the total fuel station, which is directly opposite the Islamic Senior High School. And students in the school and authorities have been raising concerns about their safety, taking into consideration of the fact that this station is directly opposite the girls' dormitory. And so the minister speaking to the students asked them to calm down, and he assured them that they would go back, assess, sort of do a technical analysis of the situation in order for appropriate sanctions to be ordered on the situation.
Right. In visiting both filling stations, what were the observations the minister made?
Yes, and I must say that with the total filling station at the Islamic Senior High School, the one which is directly opposite the girls' dormitory, an extension of it is sitting on culverts, this drainage system. And the minister, assessing the situation, immediately ordered for that extension of the total filling station to be pulled down, just so that any disaster does not rear its anytime soon. And currently, I must say that we are leaving another fuel station site at Asawase, which is also close to the WAEC office. And this one is also under construction. The foundation has just been laid, but looking at the site, you can tell that this is a waterlogged area. The place is currently flooded, and the minister raised concerns about the site and asked for sort of re-engineering or possible talks take place before further work can take place on the site.
Do we know how long the exercise will be undertaken in Kumasi?
We are heading for another area, and but the minister also gave an assurance that sometime next week he would be meeting with the Minister of Power, yes, and have several consultations with them to possibly come out with an audit committee to assess the safety of all fuel stations across the country and see the way forward.
Thank you very much, John, for that report. John Tay joined us from the Ashanti Regional Capital, Kumasi. But we'll stay there because personnel of the Electricity Company of Ghana at Efejuase have deserted their office following a violent demonstration by residents. The residents say frequent outages has built up frustrations which resulted in the outburst. About 200 youths threw stones and attacked personnel of the company. Erasa Saradonko was at the scene and gave this account. Well, we'll bring you that package a little later, but we can now speak with the PR manager for the Electricity Company of Ghana in the Ashanti region, Erasmus Bedu. Good morning, Mr. Bedu, or good afternoon, rather.
Fine afternoon.
Right. Now, how are your men, those who came under attack yesterday?
Yeah, briefly, their lights were not available as a result of a fault that occurred, which did not emanate from our system. It was an excavator that punctured the cable that provides power to their area. And when they came, they were dissatisfied for the fact that they don't have power. They have not heard the announcement and so on and so forth. But we're able to explain the issues to them. We're able to calm them down with the help of the police. And so that is what happened. As we speak now, calm has been restored. Our staff are working, and so we don't have any issues now.
And have you restored electricity to the area too?
Yeah, yesterday we managed to feed the area from another source. And so we are still trying to fix the line. It's not completely fixed because when we worked it out, we picked the load, but it tripped again, meaning that we had more problems on the feeder. This morning, we tried feeding them from KTI end of the substation. And so it is not complete totally. We haven't been able to fix it wholly, but in part, it's holding. And so we hope that maybe by close of work today,
so how are you protecting yourself now, especially when the solution is incomplete?
We are appealing to the community to exercise patience. Nobody wants to sleep in darkness. And so anything that happens is not as a result of the fact that somebody wants to punish them or somebody is not doing his work or whatever.
Well, if you had informed them, perhaps it wouldn't have happened.
We did that. We asked the local announcement ban to go around, which they did. Unfortunately, some people weren't too satisfied with it, and so they thought they could take the law into their own hands.
Did you record any casualties?
With the help of no, there was no casualties. With the help of the police, law and order was restored. This morning, the police were on the ground. As at the time that I checked, everything was normal. I haven't had any adverse reports. And so that's what is going on. There's work going on, yeah.
Thank you very much, Mr. Bedu. Erasmus Bedu is the Public Relations Manager with the Ashanti Region Electricity Company of Ghana. We'll move over to the Eastern region, where the regional minister says his outfit and the Regional Security Council, together with other relevant stakeholders, will continue to put up proactive measures to stop the activities of illegal miners in the region. Intribwesi Akosetra says illegal mining, commonly called galamsey, has done too much damage to the environment to be allowed to continue. He was speaking during a familiarization visit to the Kibi Goldfield Mining Company Limited in the Eastern region. Here's a report by Haruna Yusuf Wompone.
The one-day visit by the Eastern Regional Minister is to interact with the management and staff of Kibi Goldfield Mining Company Limited operations. Briefing the media after the visit, the Eastern Regional Minister, Nchibwe Sianku Setre, appealed to all illegal miners in the region to stop destroying the environment. He warned all mining companies in the region not to use children as laborers in the mining activity chain. Meanwhile,
staff of St. Augustine's College in Cape Coast are in court to seek perpetual injunction restraining the Attorney General, the Director General of Education, and the Controller and Accountant General from carrying out any deduction of rent from salaries of teachers who occupy staff bungalow. Richard Kujonyako has more on the story. He's joined us over the phone. Hello, Richard.
Hi, Kamini.
Share with us details of this matter.
Well, community action has been instituted for and on behalf of teachers in residence at the St. Augustine Senior High School in Cape Coast. So the Attorney General, the Director General of the GES, and the Controller and Accountant General are the defendants in this case. The teachers are seeking 5 reliefs, and one of the reliefs is an order for perpetual injunction restraining the defendants from carrying out any deduction of rent from the salaries of the plaintiff and those he represents. As you are aware, under the collective bargaining agreement reached between the GES and the teacher unions in the Ghana Education Service, on behalf of all teaching employees in the GES, headmasters, assistant headmasters, senior housemasters, principals, vice principals, head teachers, assistant head teachers, frontline ADs, and guidance and counseling officers in second cycle institutions shall be provided with free residential accommodation. So where there is no residential accommodation, the service shall be responsible for the rent the officer concerned. So the same shall apply to directors at the district, regional, and divisional levels. Now, on the second item under that section states that employees not occupying service quarters shall be entitled to a housing allowance of 35% of their basic monthly salary. So today in court, the judge sitting in the case questioned why the matter hasn't been settled internally. But the counsel for the teachers, Danielata, insisted that their position is unwarranted in law, in that the only language that government understands is through the court action. And so they are in court to seek these reliefs, and they pray the court that the court should grant them all of these reliefs.
I see. Thank you very much for that report. Richard Kujonyako joined us from the Central Region. Thank you very much for staying here on the program. Managing Director for First Atlantic Bank, Gabriel Edgall, says he agrees with the call by Vice President Parkwesi and Mr. Arthur for commercial banks to move away from investing in treasury bills to long-term investments. He's however calling for initiatives that can encourage entrepreneurship in order to push banks into looking at long-term investments.
I think the Vice President is right in the sense that banks have seen a good way out. I mean, if risk-free treasury bills is competing with my other investment outlets, I would choose that. I mean, if the government is borrowing at such high rates, I think it's a safer way to invest. But I think that the banks would be willing to actually lend more to the private sector. But like I said, there has to be a partnership between the government and the banks. As long as the deficits are being financed, interest rates on treasury bills are high, banks will invest in treasury bills.
Other industry players, however, disagree, saying that to have the capacity to do long-term funding, you need long-term investment. Chief Executive of Universal Merchant Bank, John Awia, is calling for some sanitization of the macroeconomic environment to push commercial banks to do long-term investment.
To have the capacity to do long-term projects, you need long-term funding. And a long-term funding must come from the market. And you know the saving culture in the environment now, basically from the paycheck to the market. So we need an environment that preserves value of the currency. All we need is to sanitize the macro environment. If interest rates are at affordable levels, inflation are at levels that do not erode your capital when you do your investments, then those are the little things that we need to do. I don't think the things we need to do are far-fetched. From yesterday to today, all the discussions that have gone on have centered around the things that everybody knows about already. It is the will to make them happen. That is what we need to work on now.
Implementation of the 800% hike in third-party motor insurance premiums has been suspended effective today. The suspension is expected to last just this month because the next target date for implementation of this policy is 1st of July. This decision was reached after a meeting between the motor insurance CEOs and the Finance Minister Setepe to allow for more consultation and sensitization. Now, my colleague on the business desk, Kuku Aban, who has been following the story, joins me over the telephone with further details. Hello, Kuku.
Hello, Kamini.
Now, what went into taking this decision?
Well, Kamini, after, some if I may call it, minutes or hours of discussion, that decision was taken that the implementation of the policy starts rather on July 1. Rather than the earlier announced date. Members of the Insurance Association appeared not too pleased with the outcome. I saw them engaging in some kind of a debate amongst themselves when they came out of the minister's office. And the information I managed to gather indicated that they, however, agreed to suspend the implementation of the hike in the insurance premium so that they can broadly consult and sensitize, particularly the drivers who would mostly be affected. So as we speak, it starts today. The suspension takes effect today, so they have to stop all charges. We have information that some people have already been charged. Over
so what happens to those people who were charged?
Well, the information is that now they have to broadly consult, they have to sensitize. So if they are able to successfully do all that and get the all clear to implement it, then they would, remain charged with that 800%. But if anything happens and they iron all the issues out, and it so happens that it has to be reverted to the previous charge, then they will get a refund, or depending on whichever percentage will be agreed upon,
okay.
Get a refund.
So from now till 1st July, what happens?
Because they still have to have insurance on their vehicles, that would stand as, being insured on that 800%, because they still need that insurance. If they take it off, then they would not be insured. And I'm not sure the insurance companies will be willing right now to reverse it. So they would have to wait until all the issues are ironed out before, if need be, then they can get a refund. If not...
Are we expecting some more consultation, and with who, now that the policy is on hold, the new charges?
That is not pretty clear right now, but because the drivers and the commercial drivers union and so on are the ones who have been quite vociferous against the implementation of the 800% hike, I'm sure they are the persons or the groups that would be mostly targeted to agree. Because the finance ministry, I'm sure, would want to hear from these groups, these stakeholders, before it would agree on that hike.
Well, thank you very much, Kuku. We'll leave it here for now. Kuku Aban is from the business desk here at Joy News. Now, that's it for the segment. The sports with Benedict Owusu. Don't go away. Well, thank you very much for staying on. News just coming in. The Ghana Institute of Construction says technocrats and Metropolitan Municipal at the Metropolitan Municipal and District Assemblies have failed the country and should be sanctioned for superintending over the haphazard land development in the country. The institute describes as disappointing how the actions and inactions of highly trained experts have resulted in collapse of building and other forms of disasters. A man who's been on those beats, Prince Appiah, has joined me over the telephone from the Ashanti region. Hello, Prince.
Yeah, hello, Kevin.
Why is the institute calling for the heads of MMDCs?
Yeah, the institute is very much worried because for them, most of the constructions and structures that are erected in the country gets permit from the experts in these areas, that is the district assemblies and MMDCs. And for them, because these experts, these technocrats, are influenced by either the traditional authority or politicians, they tend to compromise on the right things to do. That is why you realize that most of waterlogged areas get structures erected there. Most areas that are flood prone get structures erected there. Filling stations are erected at places which are very close to residential facilities and industrial facilities. So I just think that if we have such people in these places who are expected to ensure that safety measures are held in high esteem, are doing this, they should be held responsible, looking at the disaster and collapse of structures that has been has bedeviled the country in recent times. You talk of the Melcom, you talk of what happened recently in Accra. So the president of the association, Professor Joshua Ayakwa, and he explained into details that he thinks that the law should actually be firm on these people and ensure that they do the right thing, so these people not reoccur in subsequent years.
Well, thank you very much, Prince, for the report. Prince Appiah joined us from the Ashanti region. Next, we'll check out news from across the continent. Don't go away. Well, now a quick reminder of our top stories here on Joy News today. Ministry of Food and Agriculture is allaying fears of contracting bird flu disease, and it encourages the public to just cook their chicken very well before eating. Minority in Parliament deserted their seats today to campaign for re-election in their constituencies ahead of Saturday's parliamentary primaries. And hundreds of homes have been razed to the ground in a demolition exercise aimed at averting possible health hazards at Kumasi Abuabo. Well, the National Insurance Commission has suspended new motor insurance charges until July 1, 2015. Thank you very much for staying through the hour. My name is Kimini Nyamani Amano. Good afternoon.